the Toyota of Ralf Schumacher. And you can see that the rain is coming down more and more heavily now. It's really starting to rain very heavily. This session started with water on the track, but it was not raining. It was quite warm and muggy, but not raining. And it started raining about 10 or 15 minutes ago. Initially, it actually, ironically, made the track a little bit quicker for Ralf Schumacher, Jenson Button, Christian Klien, but now it's raining much more heavily, and that's bad news for Giancarlo Fisichella, who took pole at the first Grand Prix of the season in a wet qualifying session. But this track is the grip is going to go away from him as the lap goes on, and all the cars now coming out after him, which is the big names in Formula One. Michael Schumacher, world champion, Fernando Alonso, Kimi Räikkönen, Juan Montoya, they could be struggling here.
Well, all you're doing now is wondering just how much grip you're going to find there. There's not really enough rain at the moment, I don't think, to bother him. The trouble is, as I've said many times before, the water streaming across your visor. It always feels like it's raining harder than it is when you've got 200-mile-an-hour water streaming across. He's still the fastest man in the first sector, though. But I think he's going to have his hands full as the lap unfolds, and certainly those sitting in the pit will be looking at these pictures. You can see the rain coming down now, and I think Fisichella might just struggle. He's gone very, very wide at the hairpin. He might just struggle towards the end of this lap. This is going to turn the form book upside down, isn't it?
It certainly is, and of course if it carries on raining more and more heavily, everyone coming after him will struggle more. This might just be Fisichella's moment, provided he can get this lap completed before the track becomes too wet. If he can stay on target here to get himself amongst the front runners, with most of his competition some way behind him as the track dampens out, this will be very good news for Jenson Button, who is currently second fastest, and Christian Klien, who is currently third fastest. What's the track doing? Well, look, it's not getting that much slower, is it, at the moment? Just 4/100ths of a second slower than Ralf Schumacher. This is great news for Fisichella.
Extraordinary bravery from Fisichella through 130i in streaming rain on intermediate tyres. He might just get away with this as he goes over the line. I don't think it's going to be fastest, but it's going to be clearly in the top few. Third it is, and that's a result, and it might just play perfectly into his hands there. Alonso is going to have to, after Michael Schumacher, find his way around. Ted has further news.
Yeah, and down at Ferrari, they were just too late because it's chucking it down now. They had the option of putting Michael on the full wet, with which he was so quick this morning, Martin, but it was just too late. A matter of about 20 seconds, he's out on the intermediate Bridgestones.
Oh, this is going to be a handful. We've seen Barrichello struggle on the same tyres with less water on the track. This is where Michael crashed this morning. He's through it this time. And another man then facing... this is as tough as it gets as a Grand Prix driver. Single lap qualifying in changeable conditions and race fuel on board. Really, you don't know what to expect, but you've got to hang it out. Alonso's gone on full wet. That means he'll surely be significantly slower.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult for Michael Schumacher. He crashed this morning when he was fastest, half a second down now on his brother. But this is the first lap he's turned since this morning, the first session, because he didn't go out in the second practice session because his car was badly damaged, needing repair. Just look how much water there is swilling around, and let's just recap on what a sensational lap, what a heroic lap that was by Giancarlo Fisichella. It's not been the best season for the Renault driver. He's been shaded by teammate Alonso, but he really stood up in the seat there and managed to grab third fastest time just before the conditions got truly bad. But he had to be so brave and really look for the grip on the racetrack to make that happen. So hats off to Fisichella. What can Michael Schumacher do? We're approaching one of the fastest corners in Formula One racing, the 130R. In the dry, it's taken at 180 miles an hour. Here comes Schumacher.
He was lifting in the straight. He's aquaplaning down the straight. He's had to be so careful through 130R. Inters will not get the job done any longer. Michael Schumacher half throttled down the back straight as the car was floating along the top of the water. He's got to be so careful in this little right-hander, and he is being careful, and he's going to be way off the pace. Wrong tyres, how unlucky. Michael goes last but one at the moment, 14th of the 15 runners, except Monteiro and Trulli have spun off, so they didn't get a lap time. So Schumacher down in 14th. The final three remaining runners will be on full wet tyres.
I know what Paul Stoddart, the boss of Minardi, will be saying tonight. Delighted that his drivers have Michael Schumacher sandwiching them on the grid. Albers 13th, Michael Schumacher 14th, Dornbos 15th. Who would have believed it? Here comes the new world champion for 2005. Fernando Alonso, he's had so many moments in the sun throughout this season, but this is a very different picture now that he sees through his rain-soaked visor. He's gone for the full wet tyre. This is damage limitation here. The consolation prize, of course, for him and Renault is that Fisichella is at the front of the grid in third place. Alonso is out now, and the two McLarens, who they're fighting with for the Constructors' Championship, just 2 points behind McLaren in the Constructors, they have yet to go. So the circuit is going to be even wetter for them than it is for Alonso.
The corners like this, the left-hander, which he had to lift in, is the ideal opportunity to throw these cars straight in the hedge. He's 2 1/3 seconds down, and that's at the end of the first sector. He's going to be right back there with Michael Schumacher. It's going to be sort of 15th, 16th. They're still trying to get away from him in the wet conditions. The sort of conditions out there now that if the race was about to start, they would be behind the safety car. They would not start the race in these conditions. Alonso cannot even go flat through the right-hander towards Spoon. It's normally an easy kink. Car's up on top of the water, and he's, well, brave boy, he's sticking with it. Now we need it. I hope we stay on board for the straight, where Michael Schumacher was struggling on his inters even to go half throttle. And the visibility is pathetic, isn't it? The traction control, even in a straight line, you can barely see where you're going. What's he going to do? He's braking for 130. I'd normally be virtually full throttle through there. And, well, there you go, 5.6 down. He's going to be even behind Schumacher at this stage. So Alonso then, you're going to have two McLarens and a Renault right at the back of the field.
Yeah, that'll certainly make for some drama tomorrow. We're expecting a dry Grand Prix tomorrow, so they'll be coming through the field, won't they? 16th and last of the people who've set a lap, Fernando Alonso. And that's Rod Nelson there, his race engineer, just throwing his head back and wondering exactly what he should say to his driver at the end of that lap. Here is Kimi Räikkönen, the man that Alonso defeated for the World Championship, and this rain is no surprise to McLaren. I was in their area just before I came up to the comm box, and they were saying rain 45 minutes into the session was what they were expecting. He's going very slowly.
He's coasting. He's just coasting around the lap. He knows he can just wipe the wheels off this thing against any barrier on this racetrack, and he's settling for last but one, basically. He's got to go back 10 places anyway, and he can barely keep the thing on the road at that speed. Montoya, I wonder if Montoya will even bother going out, frankly. I mean, he's got to go out and do a time just to at least get himself ahead of Monteiro and Trulli, who spun off. But this is all Räikkönen's doing now. He's just coasting round, trying to get himself at least some kind of lap time. But then he dropped. He's going to be last anyway, isn't he? Because he then got to drop 10 places from that 7 seconds down in the first sector.
Yeah, just to bring you up to speed, Kimi Räikkönen lost an engine for the 4th time this season during the free practice sessions leading up to qualifying yesterday. That means he has to drop 10 places on the grid for having to take a fresh engine. In the 2005 rules, you have to make an engine last 2 Grand Prix, and if you change it at any stage, then you go 10 places back on the grid, and that's the 4th time this year for Räikkönen. On all the previous occasions, he's managed to come through the field to finish on the podium, but it's certainly going to be a heck of a climb through the field for Räikkönen from where he's going to qualify here, right at the very back of the grid. And these rainy conditions have really caught them out.
What a Grand Prix this is going to be. Alonso, Montoya and Räikkönen are all going to be at the back of the grid. Surely Räikkönen will abandon this lap and save the fuel, put the car in parc fermé, and he'll just have to negotiate the last chicane, keep it tight on the exit and sweep in the pit lane. There's no point in doing anything else, is there? Oh, no, he's elected to go and do the full lap to get himself a time. I suppose I'm arguing against myself there. He does at least then get himself... well, no, he doesn't, because he goes back 10 wide. What's the point in doing that lap? There's no point in risking the car, is there?
Yeah, certainly Räikkönen going through. There's Ralf Schumacher, and you can see he's doing the maths on his fingers. I'm P1, it's raining very hard. That means I'm going to have pole position here this afternoon for Toyota on home soil, and a weekend when Honda have made some big announcements about buying out the BAR team and you name it. And what a coup for Ralf Schumacher and Toyota here on Japanese soil, as Montoya, winner of the Brazilian Grand Prix, winner also of the Italian Grand Prix, just a couple of races ago. So a real rich streak for Montoya, but he's going to have his work cut out to win this one, because he too will be at the very back of the field. Now he needs to go through and complete a lap to put himself in front of obviously teammate Räikkönen, who has to take a 10th-place drop. Monteiro and Trulli, both of whom failed to complete a lap. They dropped it on their out lap. They will be behind them on the grid.
Yeah, it's worth Montoya doing a lap to get himself ahead of Monteiro and Trulli, but it wasn't worth Räikkönen doing. I just don't understand why he hasn't saved that fuel and taken the risk out of going around. But anyway, that's what he's chosen to do. Montoya, obviously he's going to be right at the back as well with these kind of conditions and sector times that he's doing. And he's pushing somewhat harder than Räikkönen though.
Well, it's going to be Toyota's second pole position of the year. Remember the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis, before we had that crazy race with only 6 cars in it. Jarno Trulli the day before had taken Toyota's first Formula One pole. This will be their second, and a very important one too. And Ralf Schumacher's first since last year's Canadian Grand Prix when he was driving a Williams.
Great opportunity to see the aerodynamics of a Formula One car at work. It's like they use smoke in the wind tunnels. You can see exactly how the air flows off the rear wing, it's just, and off the front tyres, and all of the turbulence that's going on around there. And look at that, it gives just the perfect picture of how the car is controlling the air, and obviously just carrying the moisture with it so that we can see what's going on. Coasting, literally trickling into the final chicane. There's a puddle of water there that splashes up, and surely, well, Montoya has gone in the pit, so that, I would have said they'd have done exactly the opposite to that, but there you go.
Well, it seems like a little bit of a damp squib then as Montoya goes to the pit lane, but not down at the Toyota garage, where Ralf Schumacher has got his 6th Formula One pole position, his first for the Toyota team, and what an important time to do it. He's on pole with Jenson Button in the Honda-powered BAR alongside him, and what a Grand Prix we're going to have tomorrow.